Hello, we are going to be talking about a new grouping of vertebrates today. So far, we've talked about fish, amphibians, and reptiles. Other than all having a backbone, can you think of some other things that these animals have in common? Did you say they're cold-blooded? If so, that's right. We are going to start learning today about a new grouping of vertebrates that are warm-blooded. Do you remember what it means to be cold-blooded? A cold-blooded animal has a body temperature that changes according to its environment. Now, a warm-blooded animal has a body temperature that remains just about the same. Now, birds are the grouping of animals we're going to talk about today that are warm-blooded. You know what we are? We're mammals, so we're also warm-blooded. We stay about the same temperature always. So we're going to hear about some characteristics of birds today. All birds have feathers, wings, and lightweight bones. These adaptations allow birds to fly. Birds eat seeds, insects, fruits, and other animals. They live all over the world, even in icy Antarctica. Now, birds are the only animals to be covered with feathers. Long, smooth feathers help a bird to fly. Small, fluffy feathers trap warm air close to the bird's body. Now, all birds lay eggs with a hard shell. We heard that most reptiles have eggs with hard shells, but all birds have ones with hard shells. The shell protects the young bird that is developing inside, and I'll show you a picture of this again. The shell keeps water out of the egg and holds liquid parts inside. Let's take a look at this egg. Now it says, starting at the outer layer, a hard waterproof shell protects everything inside the egg. It's waterproof. Now, in the next layer of the egg, right here, this stores food for the developing baby. As the bird is developing, it needs to have its food inside of the egg. Now, over here, we've got a thin, soft wrapping that protects the developing bird, and here is that developing bird itself. Here is more food for the developing bird. So this looks similar to like a chicken's egg that we might eat, right? But this one has been fertilized. So it actually will have a developing bird grow inside of it and eventually hatch. Now, all birds breathe with lungs. Some of the air goes from their lungs into large air sacs. Birds have air sacs so they can breathe efficiently when flying. So that's new, a large air sac allowing them to breathe while they're flying. Think about the amount of energy that would take to continue to keep up flying as you're also breathing. There are a few other adaptations that birds have to be able to fly. So we've already heard that their feathers, the long ones, are what allow them to stay upright and help with soaring, and also for direction. Now, the fluffy feathers, remember, those just provide warmth. Now, birds' feet are adapted for lots of different kinds of movement. Ducks and other water birds, they have webbed feet, where there is a connection between each part of the foot for swimming. Chickadees and other perching birds stay on top of a little branch when it needs to come down to rest. They have feet that can grab onto branch as well. So the hummingbird here has feet more similar to that perching bird. So it's clasped on like this so that it's able to grab onto something like a branch. Penguins right here have webbed feet since they do not live in the water, but they do swim. And they also have feathers that are different so that they are able to swim with their feathers rather than most feathers allow birds to be able to fly easily. Okay, now birds are the only animals with feathers, which assist in flight, insulation, or both. Most birds have the ability to fly, but some do not. Can you already think of some birds that are not able to fly? You said penguins, like we just showed, that's one. Also, ostriches and emus, which are very similar. They are all flightless. Now, all birds are bipedal, which means two legs. With scales on their legs, we've heard about scales for reptiles and fish. Birds have scales, but on their legs and feet. Their forelimbs are wings, which have feathers, strong muscles, and bones filled with air cavities. This is another adaptation that birds have to be able to fly. Their air cavities make them very lightweight. That means that there's hollow bones. So very, very light, these birds. At least the ones that are able to fly have to be very light bones. Bird feathers are believed to be a type of modified scale, having evolved originally from reptilian ancestors. This hypothesis is based on scientific studies of Archaeopteryx fossils. Now, the Archaeopteryx theory is based on fossils that are about 150 million years old and have some characteristics similar to modern birds, like the feathers and wings. So it originally came from that reptile, and over time, those wings and feathers started developing. Now, wing muscles and bones attach to an enlarged fused breastbone called a keel. This is our breastbone. Can you feel the hardness of the bone there? So that is called a keel in those birds, and that is where their wings are attached. Now, these powerful but light structures, along with a high metabolic rate, are required to make flight possible. To achieve a high metabolic rate, birds must be warm-blooded. So birds have to be warm-blooded to be able to keep their energy rate high enough. And that allows them to fly, that high metabolic rate. Now, high metabolism, which is what that's talking about, allows birds to travel and live in more extreme conditions than cold-blooded animals. And it is associated with increased muscle strength and endurance. It also allows them to react more quickly to events in their environment and to remain active for longer periods of time, especially necessary for flight. So endurance for us would be maybe long distance running. So a bird needs to have that endurance. That high metabolism allows them to keep that up for a long time. And it allows them to live in all different climates. Remember how we were talking about the birds that live along the Mackenzie River in Canada? And they are far, far north here. And then they migrate south eventually. But they're able to handle different climates. Now, birds are the only class of animal that have no means of giving birth other than laying eggs. With the other groups of animals, there's a few exceptions. Bird eggs are yolk-filled like a reptile's, and all have hard, calcified shells. Now, some birds, like chickens, are able to see, walk, and feed themselves almost immediately after hatching. But many birds are born in a very immature stage, and all require a lengthy period of parental care. This is quite different than some of the other animals we've learned about, like snakes. Now, during this period, the young need shelter from predators, and the parents prepare shelters either by building a nest made of materials such as twigs or straw or mud, depending on the region of the world that they live in. Remember that birds live in all regions of the world, including Antarctica. So depending on where they live and the climate that they're in, That determines what kind of nest they have as a form of protection, usually in a tree or thicket, or by cleaning out a hollow in a tree or a burrow inside of the ground. Now, you'll hear about a few specific birds now, but just to review, birds are the only group of animals that only gives birth by laying eggs. Most birds are born in a very premature stage where they still need a lot of care from the parent. Parent birds are, they provide protection for their young. We also learned some of the things that make a bird able to fly well, including a high metabolism, where they can have that endurance to extend as they are able to fly for long periods of time, and have different conditions that they live in, all sorts of living conditions, both cold and warm weather. Imagine a cold-blooded animal, which bodies change according to its temperature, going from all the way north in Canada to south in the tropics region that we've talked about this week. So a warm-blooded animal can handle those changes, like us as well. Now here's a few specific birds. Anybody ever heard of an albatross? Albatrosses can spend up to 10 years at sea without returning to land. 10 years without ever going to land. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't stop to rest. They're able to rest on the water itself, but they don't return to land. They don't have gills, so they have to be on top of the water, but they can rest there. Bar-headed geese may be the highest flyers of the bird world. Breeding in Tibet and wintering in India, they fly at over 27,000 feet to get through the Himalayan passes. So 27,000 feet above the earth. Wow. Now, the golden-headed cisticola is a type of Australian warbler, which is a specific type of bird. And it uses threads from spider webs to stitch living leaves together to weave to make an almost perfectly camouflaged nest. I'm going to see if I can find a good picture of that cisticola nest. Okay. So here is a cisticola in its nest woven out of these leaves. There's a bunch of reeds woven together. It is quite well camouflaged, isn't it? The last one that we'll hear about is the Arctic tern, which roves over more of the planet than any other creature. They breed north of the Arctic Circle and migrate south to the Antarctic ice pack, which is about 10,000 miles away. They travel 10,000 miles from the Arctic Circle all the way to the Antarctic ice pack. Okay, so what are your favorite birds? Do any of you enjoy learning about birds or watching birds at your home? We will continue hearing about different specific cool animals within these groups, but we are now down to just one more vertebrate grouping of animals. And do you know what it is? The warm-blooded creature. We are part of that group of animals. It's the mammals. So that is all for today. You'll have some notes to take tomorrow, and I hope you're enjoying about different animals, including birds. I will talk to you later. Bye.